All right. Welcome to WarpZone, everyone. I'm Phil Villarreal.
I'm Sean Nugent.
And I'm Jose Zozaya. I know Phil is being the responsible one for this morning. If you can't tell, there's a little bit of makeup there to let you know I'm cosplaying as Shaggy for Halloween.
And Sean, what are you?
I am Bucky the Beaver.
All right. I'm out of place. I'm wearing the costume where people are like, "Hey, what ugly mask are you wearing today?" That's what I'm going to be getting.
Oh
Being
no!
hard on yourself, Phil. No.
So it is Halloween. We've got a lot to talk about today, but I think in the spirit of the season, we need to be starting by talking about the greatest horror movies ever made, the go-to horror movies. What movie, if any, still scares you? I'll start off by saying my favorite, like as far as craft goes, my favorite movie that is a horror film would be The Others. I'd also put really high The Devil's Backbone, a Guillermo del Toro movie. But as far as the movie, nothing really scares me anymore. But the movies that did scare me are It, the TV miniseries from the 80s, terrified me when I was a kid. I'm going to go with Fire in the Sky, the Alien film from I think the early 90s. And then Amityville Horror, the original 70s one, really scared me. I kind of don't want to go back and see that one again because I think it won't scare me as much. I want to just have that vision of fear. And one more thing I'll just mention is that Child's Play didn't really scare me, but it gave me nightmares that were scary. So let's move on to you, cinephile Sean Nugent.
Cinephile Sean Nugent. I have to agree. Child's Play did scare me as a child. So did Halloween, but I never saw the original. I saw like the fourth one, and for some reason that scared me. It was just The Mask. But as far as movies I watch now that I'd still say are the go-to, the Hellraiser movies, the first two, nothing past that. Even the newest one I thought was hot trash. But those first two Hellraiser movies are so good. I think slept on, really. Otherwise, I'd have to go into like Videodrome. I think is one of the best horror movies ever. It's not even a horror movie; it's just kind of body horror. And Houseu, it's a Japanese horror movie from like '77 or something, and it's basically a fever dream. It was the guy gave his kid a sketchbook or something like that. And was like, "What scares you?" So it's what a kid would be scared of, and it's live action Scooby Doo. Essentially, it's weird, but it's very horrifying. I'm going to pass this on to Jose, though, because I'm not a big horror movie fan, but Jose, maybe you are?
I also would not consider myself the biggest horror fan. I'm such a, I have a soft spot for like the classics of this genre. So I will tell you, though, I think of the best horror movies, guys, as the ones that if I happened to see them when I was younger, they just left such an impression. I can never forget having seen them. So that would be the original Exorcist, Child's Play, only because I was so afraid when it was the Bride of Chucky trailers. And then you grow up and you're like, well, where did this all come from? So Child's Play, the original one, definitely left quite a mark. I guess you mentioned Videodrome, Sean. I mean, when I saw The Fly, maybe not the scariest thing, but I was just so blown away by the body horror element of it that I will go back and watch that if I have the time to do so. I'm trying to think, scary movie wise, would we count Alien as a horror, guys? Because when I saw the first Alien, Predator not so much. That one felt much more like an action movie. Alien, the claustrophobia of that, if you're someone who can relate to that sensation of feeling trapped, was absolutely brutal. I'm trying to think, blanking, because sometimes, horror movie wise, these are the movies probably I was more comfortable watching it in a theater or in a group. Not the things I would like to watch by myself. Man, I must be drawing a blank. You mentioned Hellraiser. Phil said The Others.
Let's throw in another classic, Poltergeist. Poltergeist was horrifying.
Scary. It really was. I'll give you that. terrified me as a child. The new Poltergeist, not scary at all. Maybe it's just it's something that has to get you when you're young, I think, and you're a little vulnerable. Before you're too jaded, before you've seen too much, that's when a horror film can really get you.
Yeah, and my dad told me that since that movie came out so close to like E.T. and everyone thought, oh, Steven Spielberg is, and apparently the trailers did not show that Poltergeist was this horrifying. So he went and saw it as like a 12-year-old, and he said he'd never seen so many kids crying in a theater.
I wonder what they thought it would be, though. If you see a movie called Poltergeist, do you expect it to be about like a cuddly little poltergeist who's phoning home, or?
I don't know if this was before PG-13 was implemented and it was just sold as like a PG movie, because I know that was right in that period where PG-13 started to become a thing.
All right, so it's interesting to me that Child's Play made all three of our lists. Like, good job on Child's Play. There's been about 15 movies since then. Maybe not quite that many, but a lot. There was even, I think, a series released recently. Child's Play universe keeps expanding. Is there anything else you guys have seen recently? Like, did you guys put on a movie in the spirit of Halloween just to kind of get you in the mood? I lately have been trying to get through Halloween Ends. Not a great film. Not as bad as I was fearing it would be, but not good either. So what have you guys been watching these days to get you in the Halloween mood?
I always watch Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2.
Oh, man.
Come Halloween, those
are so good. So funny.
The classics. Army of Darkness, one of the best movies probably ever made. I say that. I've seen it so many times. It's just one of the most fun movies. You can tell everyone on that set. It's just having a great time.
And also the Ash versus Evil Dead series, hilarious too. So
fantastic.
Great. So great.
Slept on. Jose appears to have been stolen by Poltergeist. So
yikes. We're just appearing one by one. This is the Halloween edition of WarpZone. You don't know what's going to happen. You can see a beaver, you can see Shaggy, and then there you have it. Then you see nothing.
What was that horror movie where they were killing off the teenagers on the chat room or whatever?
Oh yeah, there's been a few like that. There's been some cyber horror. It's like a mini genre. You know what else? Here's what I'll say. Like, I'm not quite scared of these. I'm almost afraid of these. So the Paranormal Activity movies, the earlier ones, which those are really well done. That found footage horror genre was off to a pretty good start following Blair Witch Project, which I thought was very well made too. A little bit scary, nothing that would terrify me, but you don't see those as much these days. Maybe it's been done to death. I think there's been about 6 or 7 Paranormal Activity movies. Have you ever seen a found footage horror film you like, Sean?
I'm on the fence. There's one on Netflix called Creep. Creep and Creep 2, and I can't remember the name of the actor, but it's solely that actor's performance being this weirdo. It's not a good movie, but if you want to watch it just for a performance, that guy, absolutely amazing. Nice. I need to look up his name. I will find it while we ask Jose the same question.
I'm sorry that the zone swallowed me whole, guys. So I'm back. Sorry. Did I miss the mention of Blair Witch Project at all?
We did. Yeah, we were talking about found footage horror films. I talked about how that one was well done, and then the earlier Paranormal Activities were pretty good too. They're pretty creepy, at least. Do you like any of those, Jose?
I did. If nothing else, for a very good, time spent as a teenager socially, just seeing, I guess you can decide who's the bravest of the group by judging by the jump scares, or who stays ice stone cold. I feel like before I'd even seen those, Phil, I remember how Cloverfield, like that was the first of that style that I'd seen in some time. I don't know if we'd call it a true horror movie, but as a monster movie, I think it hit a lot of the same beats. So
yeah, that was very unnerving, and I liked the way the whole campaign was very well done, because you didn't really know what you were going to see at the beginning, like when you came into that film, at least when it first was released. And when the monster finally makes an appearance, it's pretty shocking. At least it was for me.
The actor's name in Creep, by the way, is Mark Duplass. He hasn't really done much. He's in The Morning Show. I don't know if you guys...
No, Mark Duplass has made a lot of mumblecore films, actually. Like, he's like the king of that genre, in fact. And he has He starred in the series, Sean, that pays tribute to one of your favorite genre, one of your favorite franchises, Dune. He's in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's in some Showtime show where they make like a Dune diorama. And I want to find the name of this. I will soon here. And I remember recommending. It's called Togetherness. Ever hear that show? He's in that one. So you can go down a Duplass warp hole if you allow yourself.
Yeah, he's so good in Creep, and I can't believe he hasn't been more mainstream just based on that.
He's a French man. So Sean, you and I have been reviewing a lot of games lately. There's we talked for months about how nothing good was coming out.
Yeah.
And now it's a flood, not necessarily of great games, but of really high profile games people are talking about a lot. So let's just go through those really quickly. We've got let's talk about the big one, Call of Duty. I'm sure everybody has an experience with Call of Duty. Who hasn't? Like, used to be like the big thing out there. It's still one of the bigger franchises for sure. New game, Modern Warfare 2. I was a little confused. I thought this was actually a remake of it when I was going into it, the 2009 game. It actually is not. It's a sequel to the reboot / remastered Modern Warfare from 3 years ago. So there's that strangeness in the continuity. Sean, you really like or you played through the campaign at least. What got you through it? Was it just Duty or Call of Duty, or were you actually enjoying it?
Oh, there was a Call of Duty there. I felt the Call of Duty to finish it for WarpZone, but I enjoyed a lot of it. I usually like the campaigns of Call of Duty games. I'm the opposite of everyone else. I'm not playing for the multiplayer. I actually kind of like the campaign for the futuristic sci-fi one. I don't recall the name of that one, but everyone hated it. This campaign is really good, and it's a gorgeous game. Absolutely gorgeous. Some great acting, great voice acting. The plot is a little iffy. It gets into the cartels and Iran and Russia, and it throws basically every generic bad guy you can at the wall. But there are some really great cinematic moments. The one that stands out to me is you fall out of a helicopter during this escort mission, and you're hanging on by the bungee cord upside down, shooting at enemies in this convoy. And it just reminded me like the fourth Uncharted game, but just first person. It does that stuff so well, but then it has some segments that are, there's like a driving segment that goes on so long, and you have to jump from car to car, and you're doing it in first person, and it does not work. It's terrible. So there's some moments there.
Call of Duty for being the last great tentpole franchise we have in gaming that everybody at least is commonly interested in. Sorry, Jose, what were you about to say?
No worries, Phil. I was just just scratching my nose there.
Okay. Are you good? Are you into Call of Duty? What's the last one you played, Jose? Have you ever been a Call of Duty fan?
It must have been Advanced Warfare was the last one I remember buying a copy of it. Maybe to Sean's point, like they leaned into, sort of that more sci-fi tone. I don't know if maybe to counter Sean's point that I enjoyed the multiplayer more than the campaign, but then you're in an environment where this was something I was playing with my brothers all the time where everyone just could do this and share it, even though we were living far away. But, I dropped off. I will readily admit. Maybe I just lost general interest in it. I don't know if either of you think this is something that could reintroduce a previous COD player to say, okay, maybe this is worth giving it a shot.
I don't think so. I mean, Sean's a big fan of the campaign. I don't hate the campaign. It was interesting to me. I like the variety of it. It was pretty cool. Got those big set piece moments, but it's hard to break away from the multiplayer. I just think Call of Duty does multiplayer right. It gets its hooks in you. You keep on wanting to progress. You're getting all these little perks. Start to kind of meet people, and you develop little rivalries that make you want to come back again and again. So to me, it's all about multiplayer. Either you kind of feel it or you don't. The nice thing about Call of Duty you've got WarZone, which is free to play. That's the battle royale multiplayer experience, so you don't necessarily have to buy the game to at least enjoy Call of Duty anymore. That's something that's changed in those past years. So I don't think this is the game that's going to get you back, but it is fun to play. So to me it's comfort food as far as gaming goes. We also played a game, Sean, we were both very excited for, and one of us hated it, and one of us really liked it. It's Gotham Knights. This is set in a world in which Batman is no longer in the picture in Gotham City. You've got his 4 underlings, Batgirl, Red Hood, Robin, and Nightwing, kind of filling in the gaps and investigating his death and keeping Gotham safe. Sean, what did you think of this one?
Oh, it's terrible. Kind of the opposite of Call of Duty, where it's not that pretty to look at. The acting and voice acting are pretty bad. The gameplay is just it's not unplayable. It's just so basic and like PS2 level.
Tell me how you really feel, Sean. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Halloween hate today.
Halloween hate, and the plot goes exactly where you think it's going to go. It's not interesting. There's so much grinding. There's so many menus. It's not good.
It's a cheesy game. I'll give you that. I enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it. To me, it's kind of like the Ninja Turtles feel. You can go to whichever of these 4 you feel like playing as at the time. They bring in something a little bit different. Each of them does. Batgirl brings nothing. She's a really terribly designed character, but Nightwing's pretty cool. Red Hood doesn't really belong here because he was the villain of the last game. But he's just funny. He's like the Grouch. He's the Sean Nugent. He's just like always complaining about everything. He's a fun guy. He's kind of slower than the others, but there's a really cool bat cycle in this game. You grapple across this really vast Gotham City. I thought it was fun. It was just kind of you zip from one building to the other. You kind of feel like you're this vigilante on the streets, but you thought the Gotham was too big and too vacant, right, Sean?
Yeah, I was going to say as an open world, it doesn't feel necessary to be as large as it is. You know, I hate bringing up Arkham, but at least in Arkham, there was stuff happening and the world was interesting. This Gotham is just boring. It's just another generic open world.
And then finally, we'll get to Star Ocean, the Divine, what is it? Divine Force. And this was a game Sean found out about on his own, convinced me, not really convinced me, but his talking about it made me want to give it a try. This is not my type of game. This is an anime style JRPG. You're set in a fantasy world, and there's a lot more to it than at least you first see on the surface. So, Sean, tell us what made you fall in love with this one.
Oh, I thought this one was fun. I don't know if our producer has that picture from last week we used, but it's a fun kind of JRPG. It's not breaking any new ground. You can fly around. That's about the only selling point it has. The story is meh. The characters are kind of fun. I know you are having some fun with those characters, Phil.
Yeah, they're really like nerdy type characters. They're the best kind of dork because they think they're cool, but they're really not. They're really they have all these like really bad anachronisms. I don't know if these are just weird translations from the original, what I assume to be Japanese text, or if they're just trying to be funny, which I think I'm kind of leaning that way, but it's just really some groaning moments, but like you're kind of in on this one throughout. I had fun with this movie, with this game. I'm going to definitely, probably not play it a lot more, but just hear about Sean's exploits with it because they always do amuse me, especially watch his videos.
I was going to say the character designs look just like that. They're horrifying. Not to say she's horrifying, but the eyes are scary. They look like dolls. Except for the main guy. The main guy he looks ridiculous. Every character in it looks terrible.
It's a very silly game, but it's in on the joke, which I like. Another game I want to mention briefly before we move on is Bayonetta 3 on the Switch. This is a really fun, over-the-top action game. There haven't been a lot like this is not a series you see every year like Call of Duty. The last one was out in 2014, 8 years ago, and then before that it was 2009. This is a Switch exclusive. It's a game kind of series that doesn't really belong on the Switch because it appeals to kind of like hardcore action gamers, which there's just not a lot of these on that system, but it's just a really fun game. Kind of fits in the Halloween theme because your character is a witch, so if you're a Switch owner, check that one out. Jose, what have you been up to? You've been streaming or playing anything?
I'm trying to think. Well, an update for you guys is I'm starting season 3 of The Boys. So I owed you guys the season 2 follow through, so that is a thing. I've been thinking of watching a movie tonight because if you listen to what I said about the Bride of Chucky trailer, like that's what interested me with like the horror movies. Like it always felt like I was far enough away where I wasn't going to get hurt by the horror movie trailers. It's probably not the best Paul Verhoeven's ever done. Hollow Man was probably one thing I was really wanting to watch, and don't know if that leads into like the Invisible Man movies, like before or after that. But I'm excited. I of course, like you kind of spoil it for yourself, seeing like it was not favorably reviewed back then, but I think I'm just interested by the director and by just the concept of the invisible, danger lurking around you. I think probably I'll have that for you guys next week. A delayed Halloween review, but I'm excited for that.
Here, I just got an email right now that told me Black Adam is finally available in multiverses. I know Sean doesn't play this game. He should at least dabble in it. I know, Jose, you've had some time with this when you're dressed as a multiverses character today, even, which is cool. So finally, after they've been advertising it for 2 or 3 months that Black Adam was coming, he's finally there. Week and change after a movie has been released.
Breaking news. You'll only get it on WarpZone.
Absolutely.
Oh, hey, I mean, now we're going to have that crossover.
Yeah. You're going to finally have Black Adam against Stripe, which those were the 2 characters they were advertising. But Sean, why have you not played Multiverses, and will you play it? Or will you always just ignore it? Ignore the passion?
Yeah. I'll probably ignore it. I got other things I'm playing,
Gotcha.
Genshin.
You won't hold out forever, Sean. If you just pick one character, you could be the Ice King. That's fine.
Name the character who needs to come to Multiverses for you to want to play it finally.
Oh my gosh, from a Warner Brothers property?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Kind of sounds like there isn't one already.
No, I can't. I couldn't name one off the top of my head that would make me.
I thought you might say the young girl Hobbit in Rings of Power. But you didn't go that way.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm not a big fighting game fan, nor do I don't know. These like ensemble games don't really get me. I don't know. Does it have the staying power? Is it still as popular now as it was back in July, August, whenever it came out?
Definitely not. You're seeing kind of the bloom come off of the rose, but I get excited every time there's a new character. So like the way they're handling it is at least working for me. Like when the Gremlin, when Gizmo came out, that was really exciting. Rick and Morty, I'm a big fan of that series, and also the slightly related. The one on Hulu, I'm thinking of Solar Opposites, also by Justin Roiland, also very funny. So I was glad to have those characters in, and then of course Black Adam will get me playing again. And every time a new DC hero / villain comes in, I'll be all in.
So you're just like me with Genshin, where I just posted on my Twitter earlier this morning. They have new characters coming out, and I want them. So
you got to get to the grind.
It's your Genshin.
I was gonna try and see if maybe another Hanna-Barbera edition is what had to get Sean in here. If he had to go classic cartoons, if that's what was gonna pull him in.
I don't know. Could we have like the Venture Bros fight Shaggy? Bring in the Venture Bros. I'd go for that.
I thought you were gonna go with that, like the guy who raced Muttley and Dick Dastardly. Maybe that's where Jose was going.
I think so. I think that works too. Like maybe not Snagglepuss, but something adjacent.
Or Penelope Pitstop, which sounds like an insult to call someone that. But that was the '70s for you. Got away with stuff. Anything you guys are looking forward to coming out anytime soon? What has you excited going through the rest of the year? There's some Pokemon games coming out. I know you guys aren't into that.
Yes,
but I kind of intrigued by that. It's kind of like the first full-figured Pokemon drop on the Switch in the traditional colored releases, where they kind of like scam people and get people to buy both versions of the game. It's going to be Violet and Scarlet this time. but you're really nothing huge. I mean, I'm excited for God of War. Sean, you're kind of souring on that one, or are you still into it?
No, I couldn't get into the first one. I played it for 10 hours or so, and it's really good, but it just did not like hook me. I think I fell off and just didn't get back into it.
I like the earlier God of War games better when you don't have to do a lot of traversal. You're just like fighting one huge thing after the other. That was God of War speed. I think we're getting more into the influence of the Ubisoft games like Assassin's Creed, where you're kind of walking around, you're doing stuff, passing side quests, all that. It's cool, it's fun, but it's a little bit too much to handle. It's kind of getting into Zelda Breath of the Wild territory.
Yeah. No, I agree. We're about 8 days out to Sonic Frontiers.
Oh yeah, we've been excited for that. We don't know what we're getting. Everybody says this is the time that Sonic breaks through and does the 3D world justice. Sean and I both holding our breath until we see it happen, because there's never been a great 3D Sonic game. So we'll see on that.
Sonic fans think this is going to be this is the Messiah. This is going to be the one. And I just watching the trailers, I'm like, it's doing things that basic video games do. Open world, Sonic can punch things. Wow.
Maybe that's what they've been praying for, Sean.
Maybe
that's what works. I don't know, Phil, if I've ever brought up, like, I've had such a soft spot for the Spider-Man games, and I think Marvel Spider-Man 2 is coming out next year, and I'm like, you know what?
Oh yeah.
I actually will be paying close attention to any of the latest info, the trailers for sure. Like if you followed the immediate fan reaction to that, I'm like, I'm like those people taking those videos.
Is that the game that gets you to get a PS5?
It might just be. If there was going to be one game, depending on the payoff, and people tell me it's worth it, Phil, I might put the money down.
Yeah, there's always that one game that just gnaws at you if you don't have the system it plays on. And Sean fell victim to that earlier this year. It was me about a year ago from now. I held out a solid year before I finally got a PS5. But yeah, eventually it'll get you. All right, I guess that about wraps up our time, guys. Anything else before we take off?
Nope. Let's jump into the abyss.
Jump into the abyss. Looking forward to letting you know what whatever this delayed Halloween review will be. So looking forward to that.
All right. Have a great Halloween, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Be safe.